And as the entire pro wrestling world begins to descend on yet another year, and the entire wrestling community begins to prepare for Christmas break, welcome to a little video I like to call BC's Christmas wish list. These are the 7 things that I not only want to see happen in 2020, but in many cases we need to see happen in 2020 to make this product whole again. To make this product that we love, professional wrestling, better than it has been in recent memory, better than it has been in recent years. Now, this is only my top 7 of what, trust me, could easily be a million issues that need to be corrected for 2020. And I'm sure your list would be a little different. Maybe some that's in my list you would keep, maybe some you would rearrange, maybe some you would take out and institute your own issues. Let me know down below, and over my Christmas break, hopefully I'll get to read your responses. I want to jump right into it because, again, there is 7 different topics that we're going to go over. And number 1 is this guy right here. Owen Hart taking his rightful place into the Hall of Fame. It is time. It has been 20 years. He tragically passed in 1999, and you're telling me in 20 years, Vince McMahon and Martha Hart, Owen's wife, could not come to an agreement. That is an absolute travesty in this business. There was 3 names that I needed to see in that Hall of Fame, and for some reason it just wasn't happening. We finally got to see Randy Savage, we finally got to see Chyna, and Owen Hart still has not been placed where he belongs in that Hall of Fame. And I'm not going to let that go until that name, that man, is in that Hall of Fame. These are grown adults that are making it not happen. Get your shit together and start acting like grown adults and put him where he belongs. That is number 1. Owen Hart taking his rightful place in the Hall of Fame, and the fact that it has not happened all the way up to 2019 is a damn shame, a damn travesty. 2020, it has to happen. Because now we're just going over 2 decades. Number 2, Monday Night Raw has to be cut back to 2 hours. We can no longer play this charade, this game of 3 hours of nonsensical, redundant bullshit television. Nobody's winning here. The company is suffering, and we, the audience, is suffering for having to watch it. 1 hour would still be a chore. 2 hours most likely still unmanageable for this company, but 3 hours is a complete fail at every level. This company just does not have what it takes to produce 3 hours of weekly television on an entertaining level. That's the fact. That might hurt, but it's the truth. They cannot. They are incapable. It's impossible for them to produce 3 hours of entertaining television. Shit, if we get 1 hour of entertaining television every Monday, that is a miracle on 34th Street. And on top of that, the fact that you're supposed to make us believe, or we're supposed to believe anyway, you want us to, that the brands are equal, SmackDown and Raw, but yet one show is 3 hours long, the other one is only 2. It just feels wrong. I don't care how many top talent SmackDown has, and clearly SmackDown still is the better show. Some would now call SmackDown the A show. But as long as Monday Night Raw is 3 hours long, it still feels like they're the big boy on the block. It has to be evened out. It has to be leveled out for us to honestly accept the fact that this is a real brand split. Otherwise, it's just the same old Raw and SmackDown. Raw's 3 hours, SmackDown's 2. How is that fair? It's ludicrous. Anybody who's brand new to pro wrestling and you explain to them what the brand split is and what it means and how they're 2 separate entities, the first thing they're going to ask is, why are they 3 hours then and they're only 2? No, don't worry about that, Chucky. They're equal. Trust me, they're equal. Bullshit. Make it 2 hours. You can't create captivating television for more than 2 hours anyway. Again, more than 1 hour is a fucking miracle. So you might as well drop it from 3 hours to 2. And I know the reason they don't is because they're still making a decent amount of money on that third hour. But the ratings continue to dip. Before long, they're going to be in the 1 point some odds. Then what? When you're not making that much money on it, maybe it's because the product is suffering because it's horrible. And that's when you should probably take a few steps back. Just a thought. That actually leads into my number 3 on the list, which is along the same lines as what I just talked about, cutting back Raw to 2 hours. Well, we also need to cut back on pay-per-views. That's right. Listen, I understand the company makes money on them, especially because of this new WWE Network format. But it is clear as day that business is dropping. And business is dropping because the product is just not good. Part of the reason and the problem that the product is not good anymore is because we have a pay-per-view every fucking month. Now, I'm not saying you gotta cut back to 4 pay-per-views like when I was growing up. Even before King of the Ring, it was Royal Rumble in January. Around, March, April, you had WrestleMania. In August, you had SummerSlam. In November, you had Survivor Series. Even before King of the Ring or any of the In Your Houses, it was just 4. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. And every single one of them, you had to watch. You couldn't wait for it to come across your pay-per-view because you were, by the way, back then it was only $25, but you were gladly paying that, or back then mommy and daddy were paying for it, or I would do fucking 25 million chores to make sure it was paid for. But the point is, we were gladly handing over our money because we had to see all 7 to 10 matches that were on that card because they've been being built up for 3 fucking months. It was must see. Back then they actually dedicated time to storylines because there wasn't a pay-per-view every month. Even the mid-carders all had storylines. It was great! And then all of a sudden, everybody got greedy. They saw more money to be made if we added 2 or 3 pay-per-views a year. Then before you knew it, 2 to 3 became 4 to 5. And then before you know it, we have 1 every single fucking month. And it is clear that the product is suffering because of it. The asses are no longer showing up to those seats and filling them. Merchandise sales alone have dropped considerably. Pay-per-view buys, the network subscription is not where they wanted it to be. I wonder why. Ratings, don't even get me started on it. Could it be the product is suffering, it's just not good because you are constantly having to build with 3 weeks time frame to the next pay-per-view, and then all of a sudden you get 3 more weeks to build to the next one, 3 weeks to build to the next one. Nothing's captivating, it's just on to the next. Shit, the last pay-per-view we just all witnessed was TLC. Do you realize, guys, they only had 10 days to build that up? 10 fucking days. They didn't even give a shit about it from 2 weeks beforehand. And then right around 10 days, we started hearing rumblings of matches. That's a damn shame. Of course nobody's going to be interested in the pay-per-view if you're just throwing out matches within 10 days. Most of them were made 48 hours before the event. Come on, bro. I'm not saying you gotta go back to 4, but 12? Seriously? Let's meet in the middle at 8. 8 pay-per-views a year. Deal? January, April, May, August, September, October, November, December. All right? Flood the end of the year. That's fine. But at least the whole beginning of the year, let's have some major gaps. I'll settle for 8. It's better than 12. Beggars can't be choosers. Number 4, if I may. This is a different subject and topic. Has nothing to do with 2 and 3, but it's something that needs to be mentioned. Something I definitely have on my list, and if you guys are being real with yourself, I think you would agree this kind of needs to happen, and it's long overdue. Sasha Banks. She needs her moment. She has to get a championship on a big stage. If not WrestleMania, then SummerSlam. But a big, meaningful title match, and Banks needs to win it. And not just that, she needs to have a multi-month title reign at least. All her other horsewomen have already had such. Her other horsewomen are multiple-time champions for several months at least. Even Bayley. And Bayley hasn't been booked all that great. But even she has a multi-month title reign going. Sasha Banks, remember, she had 4 title reigns and they all equaled total 3 months. I'm going to say that again. Sasha Banks had 4 title reigns and they equaled, combined, only 3 months. Her biggest, longest title reign was like 3 or 4 weeks. That was it. If you put all 4 of her title reigns together, it would only equal 3 months, if even. Everyone else, multiple time champions, several months at the very least. Sasha Banks actually had to play hot potato with Charlotte Flair the entire time. That's why she was never able to hold on to it. Because Vince McMahon wanted Charlotte to capture her father's record really quick. So Sasha, every time she got it, a few weeks later, she had to give it right back to Charlotte Flair. And the 4th time, she had to give it to Alexa Bliss. Because Vince McMahon was so high on little Alexa. We can't have Sasha Banks have a long title reign because Alexa Bliss has to have it. Because if Charlotte has the other one, Alexa, my other blonde bombshell, has to have the other title. You tell me Sasha doesn't honestly deserve, right? I hate that word deserves. Everybody deserves things in pro wrestling. We overuse that term way too often. But if you're telling me Sasha doesn't deserve a big moment, a big title moment win, and a title reign afterwards, you're fooling yourself, and it's a straight up bullshitting lie that you were telling yourself. You ain't telling me. You're not arguing with me. You're not giving me a difference of opinion that I'm going to be like, oh, you have a point. No. I know. I've been watching the other horsewomen. Sasha Banks is no different than them as far as skill level, and in my mind, my opinion, if you will, she's better than them. When you look at everything from mannerism to selling to giving it her all, the character, the mystique behind it, the second her music hits, the crowd is captivated, all of it, she has the total package. Don't give me that mic shit either, by the way. You give me 5 females that are incredible on the mic, and then I'll say, Sasha, sit down. You're not going to. When it comes to a complete package, you're not telling me that Sasha Banks is nowhere near Bayley, Becky, and Charlotte. Bullshit. And she's never had a fucking big moment and been able to hold the title for months after that moment. It's time in 2020. We're going to have a new crop of superstars coming up from NXT. It's inevitable. And then what? Does people like Sasha keep getting shoved to the back, shoved to the bottom, while Charlotte and Becky get fucking catapulted to the fucking moon, never to return? The rocket stays on them? I think it's Sasha's time, and I'm being generous. I know it is, and that needs to happen in 2020. She's still in her prime. She still has a lot to offer. It's still in her bloodstream. She still wants to be the very best. Give her the fucking chance, will you? Come on, Vince. You could do better than that. Number 5. Kind of coincides with number 4, as it pertains to booking. Number 5 is good non-title stories. Give us good storylines that have nothing to do with the title. It's not that hard to grasp. People like Ember Moon, Naomi, Drew McIntyre, Samoa Joe. People like that deserve awesome storylines, and they don't even need to be for a title. But yet you give them nothing because you take all your time and you dedicate it to the title situations, and even that turns out to be shitty. So you're not even doing your title stories correctly. That needs to first and foremost be corrected, and then you have to start telling stories for your mid-carders and for people that are just not in the title picture. You can do it. I've seen this company do it in 2 different eras. Back in the 80s, early 90s, and the late 90s into the 2000s. 3 different eras, if you think about it. I've seen this company have great storylines for everybody. And in the past 5 years plus, you could even say the better part of 10 years, you just gave up. Now we have Lana and Bobby Lashley that wasn't for a title. That was your big non-title storyline. But let's be honest, what the fuck was that? And that was the only thing, they put all their chips into that one story. What the fuck? Bobby Lashley and Rusev got all of their attention without a title. Can we possibly, here's a crazy concept. I'm just going to ask this question and leave it out there for the eye of the beholder. Is it possible to get storylines that are good that have nothing to do with a championship? You're just taking people that are not in the title picture, but people that should be being used properly, and you're putting them in an awesome storyline. Is that so hard to ask? Before Ember Moon got injured, why was she never on TV? Why was Naomi on TV twice a fucking month, tops, and half the time losing, and all the time not in anything we cared about? Why was Drew McIntyre just kind of hanging around in 2019? Before Samoa Joe got injured twice, why was he an afterthought? Irrelevant. These are names that would be top stars in any other promotion. In WWE, they have nothing for them. It's a travesty, man. Have storylines for your non-title picture combatants. And on top of that, make them good. I honestly thought the Bobby Lashley and Rusev thing at first was a blessing. I'm like, hey, they're giving thought, time, and effort into something that doesn't have a title on it. And it became evident that they didn't have a fucking clue on where they were going with it. That needs to change in 2020. Your title shots and your title competitors, that's going to be one side of the spectrum. The other side, do not give up on everybody that is not part of the title picture. Make them relevant. Number 6. AEW and NXT have to go all out. None of this alternative bullshit. None of this can't we all just enjoy wrestling on Wednesday BS? That's what fans want to say. Can't we all just enjoy wrestling? Can't we just forget about the ratings? You guys are annoying, but then you actually go on afterwards onto platforms like YouTube to listen to people that are talking about ratings. Makes no fucking sense. If you just want to enjoy the wrestling on Wednesdays, cool. Don't come on this platform afterwards when people are talking about the business side of things. These two need to up their game every week, AEW and NXT. Not just produce good shows, but to showcase great shows. They need to make people have to tune in every week, not want to. Big difference. Right? We all want to tune into things at times, and then there's those times we need to tune in. Back in the Attitude Era, for instance, we had to tune in every week. We had to. There was no fucking choice. You needed to see what was happening with every fucking storyline. That's what AEW and NXT need to do. Let's be honest, I'm the only one on this platform that's going to be real with you to this degree. Up to this point, AEW and NXT, they produce good shows, right? At the end of Wednesday night, we all look at each other and we say, hey, good show. That was fun. That was entertaining. But there's no conviction behind it. We just say it was a good show. Yeah, entertaining. Nothing captivated us, though, let's be honest. Nothing got us off our seats, literally like, whoa, like an ooh-ah moment that pro wrestling usually gave us back in the day. Pick an era. Pick a year. Pro wrestling had many moments where we'd do the ooh-ah. We would jump out of our seats. We'd be like, what the fuck? AEW and NXT have not done that since they've been going head-to-head in October, and we've seen the ratings for both continue to decline. That's not coincidence. That's because people are tuning out. It's not as fun and captivating as it should be, and more importantly, could be. Because they have the talent and the resources to do such. Both brands. None of this alternative shit, none of this can't we all just get along and like each other bullshit. They need to one-up one another so they're each making their opponent and themselves better than the previous week. That needs to happen because when that happens, it's gonna be victory for all of us. We're gonna see them going head to head. We're all gonna get excited. We're all gonna be tuning in. Both brands are gonna have their ratings up. USA is gonna dedicate more time and effort to NXT. TNT is gonna dedicate more time and effort over to AEW. And the pro wrestling business will be thriving again. Or at least a big chunk of it. And maybe that'll, hopefully, leak into places like WWE, maybe in ROH, New Japan, maybe everything succeeds from AEW and NXT success. But right now we're seeing them just kind of dwindle. They're hanging with one another. They're dwindling. Nobody's really excited for either one. That's the truth. In 2020, they have to do what Raw and Nitro did back in the late 90s. They have to just wabaka one another. And I promise you, it's going to up each of their game. It's going to make everything better. You have to believe me, guys. I've lived through this once before. History always repeats itself. And number 7, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. That's right. You see it. You see his name up there on my own Jumbotron. Vince McMahon needs to step aside. Whether the XFL succeeds or fails in 2020, it is clear that that XFL, I should say, is his baby now. And that is clear as day. The company will only suffer more if he continues to juggle the two. The XFL is where his mind is at now. That is his focus. That is his baby pet project. That's where he needs to be. I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's even going to happen at all, but especially not at the beginning of 2020 or anywhere deep into 2020. But if Vince McMahon can set a timetable that the end of 2020, when 2020 is finished, he is going to step aside, still own the business, still have a lot of say, still be involved in a plethora of shit, but step aside and let other people run the day-to-day operations. If we can have him step aside at the end of 2020, that'll be a victory for all of us. And even Vince McMahon, to himself, it might not seem like it, but it'll be a victory for him as well. Because I promise you, once Vince McMahon steps aside, the WWE can have a chance to breathe once again. The WWE will have a chance to succeed once again. I honestly believe the old man has lost touch. I honestly believe that the old man just doesn't give a shit anymore. He's resting on his laurels, and his mindset is on other projects, most notably the XFL. And that is the truth. Vince McMahon needs to step aside. That is my 7th on this list. And again, there's a million things I could have had on this list, but those are just my top 7 because otherwise I would keep you guys here the entire night going over my list. So I had to narrow this down to 7. That's it. Our recap. Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. Number 2, Raw has to go to 2 hours. Number 3, we have to cut back on a pay-per-view every single month. Number 4, Sasha Banks needs a big moment in a lengthy title reign to cement herself as a legit horsewoman because the other 3 are running circles around her. If you don't think that's a shame, I can't converse with you. Number 5, we need good non-title storylines. Point blank, bottom line. AEW and NXT, number 6, they have to go head-to-head on the most extremist of levels in 2020. They really have to bring the fire. They cannot just rest on being alternatives or just being friends with one another. They have to up one another's game by going head-to-head. Number 7, Vince McMahon needs to step aside for the entire wrestling business at this point. I'm the Amplified Man. This was supposed to be the last video before our Christmas break, but I might have a video tomorrow morning because tonight AEW and NXT are having big shows. So even though I can't do a full review tomorrow for AEW or NXT, I still would like to give my thoughts. So even though this was supposed to be the final video for a little bit, for a break, I mean at least till Christmas time, I still might have something in the morning. That's why I always say, stay subscribed and notified, and you guys will be the first to know if that video jumps up onto the channel tomorrow morning. But for now, enjoy AEW and NXT tonight. This is the last big night of wrestling for the year of 2019. Hopefully they both put on a dynamite show, no pun intended. We'll talk about it in the morning, hopefully. The Amplified Man, yow! Check you later.